Not caring about the outcome will make you powerful. This is something I'm trying to implement for myself, something I'm trying to learn to do. It's just to simply not care about the outcome. Because if you run a business or if you're just a hardworking person, right, we tend to get too focused on what we're going to achieve by the end of the month, by the end of the year, how many clients we're going to be working with, how many appointments we're going to book, how much revenue and money we're going to make, what type of lifestyle we're going to be living, right? It's very easy to fall into the trap of constantly thinking about those outcomes, especially with social media right now, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on X, right, on Instagram. Everyone is pushing their achievements to you, right? And you watching on the other side of the screen, you also start to slowly put so much importance onto you achieving your outcomes. You put a lot of pressure onto yourself to get to those outcomes as fast as possible, right? And what that does is makes you forget about the process right now, right? Instead, what you're doing is you're in your head constantly thinking about, when am I going to get that? How am I going to get that? What am I going to get in a couple months' time, right? Where do I want to be? Like, even with myself, when I'm not working, I'm still working in my head because I'm constantly thinking about the outcomes. I'm putting too much pressure on myself to achieve all of the things that I set myself to achieve, that I'm forgetting about the process. I'm forgetting about the journey. I, do things out of the pressure of doing things because I want to get to my outcomes as quick as possible. And when you put that pressure onto yourself, right, that sort of pressure builds up for you to get to the outcome. You start to do things that might not even make sense to do, right? You're essentially trying to multitask. You're trying to do everything and anything that you can to get to your goal faster, right? Because on top of that, you also get social media where you kind of watch other people's achievements and you're sitting there and you're like, damn, I need to do that as well, right, as fast as possible. And when that happens, you enter a sort of desperation state where you become super desperate, right, to achieve your outcomes, that you just start doing things that don't really matter. Right? You start putting all that pressure onto yourself, and that pressure, right, makes you do things that you shouldn't be doing. Right? It makes you forget about the actual process. It makes you forget to, stand back and ask yourself, like, what am I actually doing right now? Right? Now, when we have that pressure, right, and this is like one of the reasons I see why people burn out, is when you're too outcome focused, when you have all that pressure, right? When you have all that pressure, making you do things, making you work hard, making you work 10-hour days, right? Sacrifice other things in your life, sacrifice your personal life just to get to the outcome as fast as possible. Over time, that pressure will make you crack, right? Because you're going to be so desperate that you're going to be working and sacrificing a lot of things. You're going to be working long hours. And then in like a year's time, right, worse enough, if you didn't achieve the outcome you set for yourself to achieve, you're going to crack. And this is what I feel like leads to a burnout, right? Leads to you not wanting to work anymore and stand back and just maybe even quit. Now, why am I saying this? Right? The reason why I'm telling you this is because I know that you watch YouTube. I know you're on social media. I am as well. Everyone is. We're all constantly looking at other people's achievements. And then we're putting that pressure onto ourselves. That we forget to do the things that actually matter. Right? That's why shiny object syndrome exists as well. Right? Because you're You're seeing someone else achieve something with secret strategy or secret niche that they went into, that you're now putting pressure on yourself. You start to question what you're currently doing, and you start doing something else, right? Because that pressure is making that decision for you. You're not making a sound decision yourself. You're making a decision under pressure. When you make a decision under pressure, it leads to a poor decision being made. So the way you need to start sort of operating is to forget about outcomes. Just forget about it, right? I'm not saying don't have goals. I'm not saying don't, set targets or anything like that. But I'm saying just like set targets and then just forget about them. Right? Just forget about them and focus on the process itself. Like, what are you actually doing today? Right? Focus on the process. Because if you are able to give it your best every single day, right? You're just able to give it your best. You're like, okay, I've done the best I could do. That's it. That's all I care about. That's how you should be operating. Right? I've done my best today. I know the truth is that I've done my best today and I did the work that I needed to do. I'm going to stand back from my desk and I'm going to walk away without that pressure of getting to the outcome, because I simply don't care about it anymore. And when you stop caring about this, you're going to start attracting, right? When you stop caring about things, you're going to start attracting it, right? Think about times when, I had cases when, I was so focused on signing a particular amount of clients. I was so focused on like hitting revenue goals with my business. Like I was putting too much pressure on myself. I was like caring about it too much. And that led me to not even achieving those things. Compared to times I remember when I just didn't care. I did the work, but I didn't care what am I going to, achieve at the end of the month. And those months ended up being the best months I've had. Right? Because I removed that pressure from myself. And without that pressure, I was able to make better decisions. Right? I was able to make better decisions on the process I'm currently going through. Right? Because once you align yourself with the truth that you are doing the best you can, that's all that matters. Right? Once you align yourself with the truth, the reality of your process right now, what you're doing every single hour, every single day, is what matters. Right? If you haven't achieved an outcome, you shouldn't care, because you know that the truth is that you followed your process, you did the work, and that's it. That's all you gotta care about. You shouldn't care about if you achieved the outcome, if you didn't achieve the outcome. Right? Because outcomes, there's just things that we kind of make up in our head. Right? These are things that don't really exist. Right? They exist in the future. Right? They exist in the future, but the future doesn't exist. It's all in your head. Right? What exists is today and what you're doing today. Right? So there's no point in putting all your focus into something that doesn't exist. And instead, step back and put your focus on things that do exist, that are just in front of you. Right? And do it at your best ability. But if you don't achieve the outcome, it doesn't matter. The outcome doesn't exist anyways. Right? So that's like kind of the sort of the thing that I was thinking about this morning, right? Because, as much as I like to say, I also focus on the outcome a lot. I always pressure myself onto achieving certain things, right? And sort of criticizing myself when I don't achieve it, and then putting in more pressure, right? But what I realized today is that this sort of pressure that I'm putting on myself is just leading to more negative sort of outcomes, right? Right? Even though I'm trying to achieve the best outcomes, it leads to more negative outcomes because no one makes good decisions under pressure. No one, right? So I don't really see the point of creating that false pressure on myself if it's not going to benefit me in any way. Right? So instead, what I'm going to do is I got my work today. I know what I need to do. I'm just going to do it, and that's it. I'm not going to care how it's going to perform. I'm not going to care, what I'm going to get out of it. I'm just going to do it, and that's it. Right? And over time, I'm going to remove that pressure. And it's just, life will just be way easier for you. Life will just be way easier once you stop caring about it. So yeah, this just been like a quick sort of yapping session that I wanted to make because I feel like a lot of people, especially these days, tend to put a lot of focus on the outcome, but it doesn't really have any positive effects onto you. It just doesn't. Right? You're less present. You have that pressure. You create self-doubt when you don't achieve the outcome. You have the shiny object syndrome. Right? You start comparing yourself to others. I cannot name one thing that's beneficial about being focused on the outcome. I honestly can't. Right? So stop caring. Right? Just stop caring. Right? Step back. Look at your process. Look at your process instead. Stop caring about your outcomes. And then see what's going to happen.